So my name is Jonathan Mackley and I was born with a hypoplastic right heart and I had an atrial pulmonary fontan at the age of 5. That was 35 years ago. Today I have the privilege of representing a passionate volunteer group of people seeking to make a difference for the Fontan community and partnering with the Fontan Registry. I hold the role as chair of the Australian and New Zealand Fontan Advisory Committee, and I want to share briefly with you three things: why we formed this group, what we seek to achieve, and how you can get involved. Can I have a quick show of hands of who was here last year in Melbourne for the Fontan Education Day? Okay, great to see so many people have returned. For me and probably many of you, this was the first time I'd met other people who had had a Fontan operation, which was incredibly exciting, inspiring, and also, given the information that we consumed that day, and like you are today, incredibly emotional experience. There were many great sessions at last year's event, 2 speeches in particular, and there were many great ones. Motivated me to want to be involved, and some of the others who got involved in an advisory or an advocacy capacity. Number one was Susan Bigger. Her story and journey as a mother of a child with cystic fibrosis and how she got involved with other parents to form the Cystic Fibrosis Family Advisory Council, a group that is based at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, and they've already had made a difference to influence the new cannula design to greatly improve the experience of cystic fibrosis kids attending those clinics. The other influential speech was, of course, from Eves, who gave a call to action highlighting the need to have a feedback loop for the Fontan Registry. The need and opportunity Eves described was to provide the Fontan community with a voice and a regular forum to share that voice. So following this, in September 2014, an enthusiastic group of adults, supported and facilitated by 3 amazing members of the Fontan Registry, Eves, Ingrid King, and Karen Duplessis, we formed the Australian New Zealand Fontan Advisory Committee. So, who are we? Here's some mugshots for you. 4 out of 10 of our members are on the committee are adults with a Fontan circulation. 2 members have had a transplant. 2 members are parents of children or young adult with a Fontan circulation. Myself up there, obviously. Rachel is the vice chair and her son Tate has had a Fontan. Kirsty Robinson's son David, and Kirsty and David spoke last year, has had a Fontan, and Kirsty is a nurse and also helps at the Fontan Registry. I'm just speaking away from the microphone, sorry about that. Louise Pickford has had a Fontan circulation, also spoke last year, lives in Adelaide and has been works with a hospital recovery clinician, as a hospital recovery clinician. Brian Rose, another adult with a Fontan circulation, lives in Brisbane and he works as a paediatric intensive care nurse. Bit of a theme going on there, isn't it? Matthew Orchard previously had a Fontan and recently has had a successful heart transplant. Rebecca Peters works with the Royal Children's Hospital Transition Support Services and also for the Fontan Registry. I believe she wears some other hats as well. Very busy girl. Ingrid King, Fontan Registry Database Manager. Tracy Stanley, some of you have probably worked with her or had your life improved by working with her, works tirelessly as a Heart Kids Victoria family member, family support coordinator at the Royal Children's in Melbourne. Eves, who we all know, the paediatric cardiac surgeon at Royal Children's in Melbourne, and Fontana, the founder of the Fontan Registry. Okay, I want to briefly acknowledge 2 previous members. Karen, thank you so much for your assistance in getting us up and going, and also Helen Stewart, who gave us some insights from a cardiac social work experience. Okay. So we initially focused on discussing why had we come and what did we hope to achieve, which is really in line with the Fontan Registry, a consistency of care representing a whole journey view and advocate for children, young people and adults with a Fontan circulation. That led us to define our mission, which was pretty much to optimise health and support for the same community, in essence to make a difference. But where would we start? Susan Bigger kindly met with us and explained how the Cystic Fibrosis Family Advisory Council got up and going, and this gave us a model and a plan to follow, which essentially is to ask the Fontan community what are your concerns and needs, identify the top priorities, investigate and seek expert advice, bring attention to it, and influence positive change, provide information and guide the Fontan Registry with their knowledge and research. We kicked off our survey. It was open in August. Quick show of hands if you've already filled out our survey. A few hands, okay. Good news is we've reopened it, so if you didn't put your hand up, you do have a great opportunity to get on board. We have flyers out the front, so you can get shortcuts to it. You can also find it on the Fontan Registry page, and I believe there's Facebook posts about it today as well. Our survey was the first project, and this was released in August, I've said that, which was based on feedback from the Fontan Education Day. We've already mentioned it. Some of you today have mentioned about the physical symptoms such as leg cramps, migraines, and also the psychological and developmental concerns which exist among the Fontan community. Okay. Now because we've reopened it, we do have some interim feedback about the responses so far. Although there are about 1,500 people on the Fontan registry, apparently there's only about 600 that we had access to via email. So we did fairly well, I think, with 154 responses. We've given you the gender split there. We've got individuals, so adults who have the Fontan circulation, and the other one is filled out by parents or guardians or carers whose child or young adult has the Fontan circulation. Okay, some early insights, and I think a lot of this will be discussed this afternoon, so I'll skip through it quickly, but no surprise really. The greatest concerns for both groups was life expectancy and also for pregnancy in females. A need for connection. There is a very strong need, and I think that was one of the main things that brought me along last year, was to meet somebody else who's been through this, who has a Fontan circulation. And of course, there are many other groups. We've listed just some of them there, but we'll be releasing our full results in the coming months. So we wanted to do that once we'd had a chance to reopen it again and get more feedback. We do have an opportunity to join our group. I mentioned some of the locations people are from on the Fontan Advisory Committee. We don't have anyone from New Zealand yet, but I'm hoping either we'll pick some people up this year or certainly when we go to New Zealand next year. That would be a great opportunity, but we also are keen to have more people from around Australia involved. We have a few states covered, so if you're interested, please come and see us or drop us an email, and we'll endeavour to get back to you real quick smart. Okay, we meet monthly, and if we just require people with a willingness to contribute. Your feedback and input is always welcome. Here's our contact details. If you grab our flyer, which is out the front as well, you can always reach us. And special thanks to those who've given us the opportunity to talk with you today. So that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonathan. I think we've got a few minutes where Jonathan could answer some questions. I'm sure there's interest.
Save some time today.
Did anybody want to make any comments or questions? You all know how to find Jonathan.